Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Homeschool Autism Life. My name is Jamie. Today's video, I wanted to chat about something that's happening in the autism world due to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s, hopefully that wind isn't too loud, his speech that he delivered this week. And I've just been kind of disheartened by somehow we've gotten into camps, into groups of either we love what he's doing or we hate what he's doing, or we're offended by how he spoke about autism. And then there's this like attacking each other because you don't see it the way that the other does. And it was kind of making me sad because autism has always been something that families have fought for together, and to see that division and that almost nastiness, like, it kind of made me very sad because well, the main thing that I wanted to say is that autism is a spectrum for a reason. So your child, or you, if you are a person with autism, may write poetry and you may play baseball and you may be able to have a job and pay taxes and all of the things that he said. But I'm in the process right now of getting guardianship for Darian because he doesn't do those things and he doesn't want to do those things, so I'm fine with that. But there's such a it's a spectrum, right? And the reason why I was not offended by what he said, yes, my son is some of those things, but our family has not been destroyed by autism, so we don't meet all the criteria he said, but there are many families who have. The big issue that I had, or the big thought that I had is that I am so thankful that there's somebody in Washington, D.C. pushing for research to be done. There's somebody in Washington who is saying we need to figure this out, and unfortunately he's fighting against, I don't know if it's lobby groups, I don't know what the naysayers, I don't know what their purpose or reason behind saying that it's just doctors who are figuring out. Yeah, I can promise you, having lived in the 80s when it was 1 in 10,000 children, doctors weren't missing children who behave like my son. They would have recognized it. And so I'm just like, I'm thankful because there's a possibility that maybe new medicines that could help my son just with his sensory overload, that might be possible now that there's somebody going, we really should look into this. We should try and figure out what the problem is. For a good example is I changed the sheet on Darian's bed because I needed to wash it. And for 2 days, that boy did not sleep. And I was so confused, and we're trying to figure this out. And it took him 2 days to tell me he wanted the dark purple sheet. And he just kind of put his hand on the bed and went, dark purple. And I'm like, oh, you want the other sheet back? And I had already washed and dried it. But because I had a new sheet on his bed, I didn't think anything of it. But for him, that sensory input was enough to throw his night's sleep off. And it took 2 days. So, I look at it and I go, if it comes with 0 side effects, I would absolutely be willing to help my son who struggles to that degree. And I'm just so thankful that there's somebody out there who's like going, we need to figure out what's going on and perhaps develop therapies or medicines that don't turn our kids into zombies, but actually help and deal with the issues at hand, right? So the other aspect of this was I, because he's having to fight, and I don't know if I'm kind of all over the place on this one, but because he's having to fight for even the legitimacy of that, his words didn't offend me because I know that that's somebody else's story on the spectrum. We have some of the things that he said, not all of the things, and it is from a country's perspective. If 1 in 31 children are labeled with autism, and the large majority, even half of that, cannot hold down a job, cannot pay taxes, that is a huge burden on a country. And as his job is Maha and his, official capacity in Washington, he's speaking to that. And so again, I just kind of wished that the autism community at large really supported him and supported his push for that, because like I said, we've had decades where they've been slow to even want to look into this kind of stuff. What does cause? I would love to know. And there was a study out in Britain that said women who have PCOS are more likely to have a child with autism. I have 2 children that don't have autism. So what actually causes it? What made that happen? Was it my hormones? Was it, my gut flora? Was it, and not that I want to blame myself, but these are answers that will help my daughters one day when they have children. And I would love for them not to have to struggle or watch their child struggle because you changed a sheet on their bed. And the other aspect of this that is a reality for us is that one day when Colin and I are too old to look after Darian, my girls are taking that on. And if they only have to look after their brother, whom they love to distraction, we love to distraction, and they don't add a special needs child to their immediate family on top of that, I have no problem with that. I also would have no problem if I had a child with a grandchild with autism. That has been my life, and it in no way would make me love that child less, but I know what a burden that is, and it's not a burden in a bad way. Like, I spend this entire channel, the point of this channel is finding joy despite circumstances, but there is no glossing over the fact that there are hard days. There's no glossing over that fact. On Sunday, I was in a puddle of tears because we had a bad trip to the grocery store with Darian. There are hard days. There are things that are difficult. There are also some things that are not normal, but are still a joy. And that same Sunday evening, he tried to turn himself into a baby and lay in my lap. No other Sorry, the wind is crazy today. There is no other 17-year-old boy that I know who's typically developing who tries to curl up into his mother's lap. That's not something that is typical, but it is such a joy to have happen, because you're like, I love you so much and I know that I'm your person, right? So the point of this video is I'm asking for my community who watches my channel to offer grace and kindness to anyone and everyone including RFK Jr., who's trying to get us answers. Um, and hopefully that will make a huge difference in the future for our families, for our kids. If you are not somebody who struggles in the way that RFK specified, that's okay. Just know that there are other families who have had those situations happen to them and they're struggling. And depending on where you are in your autism journey, too, as a parent or as somebody who's dealing with it, yeah, they might need you to be like, I'm okay with finding out answers. um, no, I'm asking, I'm calling out for unity. I'm calling out for us to just really support. And I'm not writing any letters to politicians or anything like that, but I am praying for RFK. I'm praying for his staff and everybody who's involved, because I truly believe that these are things that should have happened decades ago. I get it why they didn't do it in the 70s and the 80s, but when the prevalence was going up, when Darian was diagnosed in 2016, it was 1 in 44 children, I think. I can never remember, but I think that was what it was. And now it's 1 in 31. And I'm just like, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable, and we need to start being proactive and finding out what the problem is. So I think the point of this video, I don't usually speak to political matters on this channel. I think I did it once where I was like, oh my goodness, the news is so negative. But I really felt like I needed to speak to it on this channel because I recognize how emotionally charged this issue is. And I just really, 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 yeah, I think it's so important that we offer grace. And like I said, if you were upset by it, I am in no way, shape, or form saying your feelings aren't valid. I am saying they are, but please remember that your experience might not be someone else's experience, and they might struggle differently than you, and their feelings are just as valid. So, go ahead.
What are you doing?
I am making a video, silly girl. Sorry, my daughter is asking for permission. Yeah, I also hope that this video is taken in the context in which it is meant, that I don't think we benefit from fighting with each other. I don't think that we get support by fighting with each other. And yeah, nobody gets anything out of it. We're so polarized now. That even the fact that somebody has to make a video and say, or leave a comment on a video and say, where's your outrage at this? I don't understand. Their feelings are valid, your feelings are valid, and we're all fighting the same. If you look at it from a point of view that it's not a disorder, it's not a disease, it's not anything that needs to be researched and fought, your opinion is entirely valid. For those of us who see it differently, who recognize the struggle our kids have, yeah, please offer grace. Because yeah, we do recognize that our kids are suffering, is not the right word, but we see the struggles they have and how hard life is sometimes, not just for us as parents, but for our kids. And we would like answers. If you're perfectly content and perfectly happy, then yay, I'm so happy for you. Like, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But we recognize that, yeah, we would love to know, and we would love to have the future be different for our girls if at all possible. So I hope, again, I hope that this comes across in the meaning that it is meant. I just am calling for unity and grace and kindness, even for those who have differing opinions about this topic. And God bless you. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.